Dave Meltzer's relevancy in the wrestling community is plummeting with each day that passes by, and he only has himself to blame for his downfall. Once heralded as one of the greatest voices of the wrestling world, Meltzer's reputation in the community has gone from a respectable, opinionated personality that has a finger on the pulse of the worldwide wrestling scope into someone who fails to piece together an opinion that isn't ripe with contradictions and someone who can't get the facts in order before sending out his viewpoint. What happened to the Meltzer that fans in the 90s grew up with? And what were the warning signs that were always in plain sight, yet ignored until they became more evident after 3 decades? Hi, I'm Shawn, and this is Shawn Talks Wrestling. I'm venturing into the world of video essays, and what better way than to start with one of the biggest names in the wrestling community outside the squared circle. Born to a Jewish family residing in upstate New York in 1959, Meltzer showcased a unique and inspired journalist approach as early as 12 years old, becoming an avid wrestling fan that desired to seek out stories and happenings beyond the curtain. By the time he reached his teenage years, Meltzer began writing for the California Wrestling Report, which was made to be simpler for Meltzer at the time after he and his family moved to San Jose, California. At such an early age, Meltzer had demonstrated high integrity in his journalistic style, paired with a passion for wrestling and everything that occurred inside the ring and beyond. It would only be a matter of time before he would reach new heights and begin his publication, known as the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Not only did his opinion and wisdom in everything wrestling reach a wide range of wrestling fans around the globe, Meltzer also released several touching memorial pieces on wrestlers who had lost their lives while playing a key role in the business. In fact, some of his most notable work was dedicated to the life and career of some of the greats in the business. To top it off, Meltzer also introduced his star rating system, designed to give his opinion on every match that met his eyeballs, ranking every bout from 1 star to 5 stars. Of course, Meltzer would stray from this system occasionally, rating poor matches with negative stars, or handing out additional stars to matches he deemed to be higher than 5. In June 2018, Meltzer handed out his highest rated match to this day, a 6.9 stars out of 5, to the Okada and Kenny Omega match at Dominion in Osaka-jo Hall. This wouldn't be the first time Meltzer would go beyond 5 stars for a match, as he recently gave the Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay match at the 2024 AEW Dynasty show a 6.5 star rating, coming just short of the top spot in Meltzer's opinion. While some mocked the star rating of an individual writer, claiming it didn't matter, others viewed his rating as an honor, including the likes of Bret Hart, who may go down as one of the best pound-for-pound wrestlers in the history of the sport. However, as high as his opinion may have been viewed during this time, early signs indicated concerning warning flags that would later become more evident on a worldwide scale. At the time, Meltzer was involved in a world with limited internet access and exposure to the business, making his take on everything outside North America something to look forward to. Unfortunately, his reputation would take a few hits, like PW Insider Dave Scherer's account of giving Meltzer some first-hand information, only to see Meltzer publish something entirely different. Quote, "It got to the point that dealing with him became a chore, or worse, and since I knew some of what Dave reported wasn't true, I began to wonder if some of the other things in his newsletter were wrong as well. It just got to the point where I wondered how I could trust the stories that I had no knowledge of as being factual when stories I did have intel on I knew weren't. The answer is, I couldn't." End quote. On another account, John Bradshaw Layfield, a WWE Grand Slam champion and Hall of Famer, made note of several times the WWE would give Meltzer false information in an exchange on Twitter, which led to Meltzer publishing it as fact and claiming his insider sources were legit. At the time, these allegations were easy to dismiss as hit pieces meant to ruin Meltzer's reputation, and his loyalists would stick by his side, claiming that the WWE had an ulterior motive to destroy Meltzer's reputation as a reporter. However, as time went on, the cracks began to show in Meltzer's journalistic foundation, and the water began to make its way through. It began to occur more frequently than not that Meltzer's reporting would be proven wrong either due to lack of concrete confirmation from his insider sources or attempting to jump the gun and be the first to cover a story. Some will say his change in journalistic approach and loss of credibility coincide with the introduction of All Elite Wrestling, an alternative wrestling promotion to the WWE founded by Tony Khan, son of billionaire Shahid Khan, and backed by huge names like Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Cody Rhodes. A good example of this is on the July 22, 2019 episode of Monday Night Raw, during the major Raw reunion show planned. Meltzer reported that John Cena would not be appearing on the show due to scheduling conflicts and shooting a movie at the other end of the globe, only for his music to hit at the very start of the show, bringing out Cena to a thunderous ovation. Fast forward to 2 years later in 2021, Meltzer made a passing comment about Charlotte Flair taking some time off for some, quote, dental work, which many believe to be industry talk for plastic surgery. The The 13-time women's champion responded to these claims via Twitter, stating, quote, "Yeah, I just listened. I thought Dave Meltzer would have learned his lesson last time commenting about women's bodies, but apparently I'm fair game. So I get to respond, again, to a rumor about my body, again. You know what? This is when I stop. Dave, go to hell." She then followed up with a second tweet stating, quote, "You have my phone number. It would take you 30 seconds to ask as opposed to giving straight crap to your listeners. Grow up. For you, of all people, to comment on a woman's looks? Do you have any shame, decency, or professionalism left at all? Find a mirror. Look hard, Dave." End quote. One would think that a journalist who has the phone number of the very person he would talk about would do his due diligence and make that call to confirm these wild claims, but unfortunately, Meltzer is beyond that requirement at this point. Perhaps one of the biggest gaffes of his career took place just a couple of days ago when Meltzer reported on a Warner Brothers Discovery internal memo, which appeared to have the total value of AEW television. While this was all stated on his message board, we thankfully have everything logged from the Meltzer Said What Twitter account, which does a phenomenal job at keeping a paper trail of everything Meltzer gets incorrect, which is starting to pile up in staggering numbers. On the AEW value, quote, "I saw an internal memo from WBD on the total value of AEW programming. It was $288,265,720 per year based on ad revenue and 2% of TNT carriage rates, 2.5% of TBS carriage rates, and 3% of True TV carriage rates, and also including purchasing of the pay-per-view franchise. However, it was a pay-per-view model indicated as similar to UFC, still $50 per show. It did list an ROH show as part of the value, a reality show, and Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision, and pay-per-views. So its lock ROH has been talked about, and pay-per-view has been talked about. Also, TBS is estimated to make $91 million this year in ad revenue for Dynamite. This is all based on a rating estimate for ROH and Q2 ratings for the existing shows, and 137,500 average pay-per-view buys in 2024, end quote. So what is Meltzer talking about? Well, he's referring to this graph. On the surface level, there are a few things to point out. For one, the information Meltzer reported appears to be similar to what is shown, from the carriage rates of TBS, TNT, and True TV, to the mention of ROH, AEW's 3 programs, and the reality show. The total estimated value is slightly off, but not by much. Where some of the discrepancies begin to show up is in the details, such as in column E, row 15, where the cell reads, "Estimate AEW percentage, guess, question mark." Surely an internal memo directly from Warner Brothers Discovery would have perfected their Excel document before sending it out, right? Well, it wasn't long before this one was debunked by Twitter user Let's Get Upset, who had this to say, quote, "Hey Big Dave, if this is what you are referencing on the board, some guy who claims he works in an advertising adjacent field made this up and posted it on a random Discord several months ago," end quote. In later posts, Let's Get Upset stated, quote, "If you look at the math as well, you can see whoever originally made it just took the article about SmackDown's ad rates estimates and then cut them for AEW's ratings. No consideration for time slots, cable versus networks, etc. Just an absolute amateur job. Basically, one who saw this months ago and believed it is extremely naive and doesn't look into information at all. It is all very recognizable from the get-go that it is suspect," end quote. Of course, one day later, Meltzer took down the post with this simple update. "I'm taking this down for now." With no apology or explanation on why he reported on a false narrative using a document created 4 months ago by someone in an ad-adjacent agency, but he wasn't done there. Meltzer later followed up with this, quote, "AEW's success, or lack thereof, will be known when this deal gets done. I've said a million times that I don't assume anything." But either Tony Khan or his detractors will end up with egg on their face, end quote. Sure, Meltzer doesn't assume anything, but he sure as hell will take any information that crosses his computer screen at face value, report on it as if they were fact, and then quietly take it down and stick his head in the sand, hoping nobody will pay much attention to him despite the fact that he's been caught with his pants down. This major error on Meltzer's part was so bad, Forbes wrote about it. In an article titled, "Dave Meltzer's Internal Memo Gaffe Caps a Week of Faulty Reporting," Forbes highlighted the entire situation on the WBD internal memo, which also includes the other failed attempts to get news out for the week, like the passing of Afa Anoa'i before he actually did pass away, in an attempt to be the first to break the news and put it out there, while Afa was in fact still alive and fighting for his life. Now, to his credit, Meltzer did apologize for this incident, explaining that he had received texts of Afa's passing, and, as Meltzer would do, reported on it because he'll believe just about anything. Eric Bischoff, the former president of WCW, didn't hold back his thoughts on Meltzer's faulty reporting, stating, quote, "Dave, you are not only comically ignorant when it comes to the wrestling business, your sloppiness, lack of integrity when it comes to your cosplay reporting makes Pond Scum look good," end quote. Bischoff has been highly critical of Meltzer's work as of late, pointing out every discrepancy in the past couple of weeks on his 83 Weeks podcast, and the errors just continue to pile up. In 2024 alone, Meltzer has struck out on numerous reports, from The Rock getting favorable treatment and being allowed to use profanity while other wrestlers didn't get that luxury, to Jack Perry of AEW apologizing for his role in the CM Punk All-Out Brawl, which led to the eventual dismissal of Punk from the company. Despite showing more than favorable opinions on the AEW product over WWE, many of the AEW greats have also spoken out about Meltzer and his rating system in particular. Will Ospreay gave a yes and no answer when asked if Meltzer's ratings matter, stating that they do nothing for his paycheck and he gets paid the same wherever he goes. Kenny Omega also spoke out about it during one of his Twitch streams this year, stating that while Meltzer's ratings once mattered, they don't count for much anymore since Meltzer has jumped the shark.
No. I am not healing on Meltzer. He is just but one guy with one opinion who's watched a lot of wrestling. It counts for something. But he's jumped the fucking shark, so it doesn't count for much anymore. He has jumped the motherfucking shark, and guess who is to blame for that? Me. I'm the guy. I broke this scale. It fucked up something in his brain where he doesn't even know what good matches anymore. He's just like, Kenny, you opened my mind to this weird fucking world of wrestling that I never saw before in my life. And I think he doesn't understand it anymore. He stopped being able to understand. He can't comprehend what's going on. I opened Pandora's box and it's just running rampant now. That's all it is.
John Cena himself has also made comments regarding Meltzer and his star rating system, claiming that he would rather put on a match that tens of thousands of people enjoy who are also attending the live show over the opinion of one singular person.
I am much more concerned when I perform for WWE in how the audience as a whole feels about my performance, rather than one individual trying to grade me in a level of stars. Not that doesn't matter, because that is a great way for those to try to get equity and try to get noticed. It's a great ranking system, and I really do appreciate it. And I'm not knocking critics. I'm just saying my process is to make sure that everybody who paid a ticket had a good night. And if that gets me a 0-star match, I still know in my heart of hearts that I entertained my audience that night.
In the age of the internet and everything you say or do becoming readily available for anyone to screen capture or take a photo of, Meltzer is quickly losing all the credibility he had worked so hard to establish over his 40-year run as a wrestling journalist. Despite his many failed attempts to be the first to the story and put out news that would normally have people talking, Meltzer has no choice but to dust himself off and continue stepping up to the plate and swing again. Whether he returns to form and begins knocking it out of the park, or strike out and watch his batting average plummet even further into the dirt, that's up to Meltzer to decide where he wishes to go. The ball is in his court, and all Meltzer needs to do is stick to standard journalistic morals and confirm stories with credible sources before putting the news out there. It's the very thing that defines a good journalist, from Dave Meltzer. Should he fail to do so, Meltzer may one day slip into the land of irrelevancy forever. So, what do you all think about Meltzer and his most recent failures? Do you think it's time he hangs up the boots and calls it a day? Or is there still a place for someone like him to get back to his original form and report on stories that have credibility and truth to them? Let me know in the comments down below, as I'll be sure to read and respond to each and every one of your thoughts. That does it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this style of content, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to see more of what I have to offer, hit the subscribe button and turn on that bell notification while you're at it to receive all future updates. As always, remember to be kind to one another and stay safe.